I've experienced this. You are you're in hospital, and mom brings a child to hospital, telling all these symptoms. Yeah, my baby has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then of course now I love talking to the kids when of course they're of age, and then you ask, so what is the problem? I don't have a problem. You're like, but mommy says 1, 2, 3. You say no, she's lying. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Okay.
I've Yeah, so you see, you get into a very moment of awkwardness, and then the worst part is that of course the mom will start lashing at the child because, as you
Mm.
say, she's
Mm.
trying to protect herself.
Mm. Mm.
Is that emotional abuse?
I would say there's a lot going on there.
Of course, yeah, of
There's
course.
a lot,
Okay,
and
at the end of the
let's.
day, they want usually they want dad to send money. Usually, that's
Ah.
usually they would want dad to send money, or they want dad to come over. But usually, that is, I think that's usually a strategy for now getting, maybe. Of course, they've tried. That means they've tried all these other things and they were not working, and then now they, if they use a child, then you know it's a better bail. Yeah. Mm.
See, so already now there's
Mm.
that
But I'm looking
underlying.
at a point from a child.
Yeah, yeah,
How,
definitely. That's
how does
abuse.
the child process that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's taking advantage. And oh my gosh, what are you teaching that child? I mean,
Mm,
can you even imagine? So of course, my first thing goes out to the mom to
mhm.
ask. I wonder what kind of desperation that gets you to do that, because
Yeah.
we are naturally wired to take care of our children and to do the best for them. So the
Mm,
first thing is to really figure out, for me now, just usually the question I ask, what has pushed you to that level?
mm,
What has pushed you to that level? What's going on with you, and how can you sort that out? Because by doing this is what you're doing to the child. And
mm,
I understand this could be very desperate, but is there has to be other ways of doing this. There has to be other ways. So definitely that's using, and that's, it happens a lot when children become the grass that gets hurt when two adults
mm,
are fighting.
mm.
I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to work on yourself.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize enough. Invest in it. Whatever it is you need to do, do it.
Mm,
Um, there is no single parent who comes into my session with issues with their children that still doesn't go back to them and what
yeah.
they need to do differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's not in a blame shifting or guilt tripping kind of thing. It's just that,
Mm,
I think I said this last time and I'll say it again. Unless you are fulfilled, you will use your children to complete you. You will
mm,
teach them how to live with your unacknowledged fears.
mm,
Unacknowledged fears.
mm,
Unacknowledged. Okay, so we haven't even acknowledged them. We haven't
mm,
even accepted that it's fear that's driving
mm,
us. For example, even in their situation, there's just fear. And the fear is real, the fear of lack,
mm,
the
mm,
fear of this child not growing up with their dad. But what
mm.
the means do not justify the end. You
It's
teach
true.
them to live with your rejected emptiness. Can you
Mm,
imagine the level of emptiness this person is feeling? To
mm,
blind them to that point. And you will
mm,
teach them to live with your forgotten lives. And forgotten
mm,
lives are things in your past that you haven't dealt with.
mm,
And this quote, it's from psychologist, Dr. Shefali.
mm,
Then she
mm,
says, while unaware, you are doing so. So you see
mm,
those things we're saying, the subtle ways.
mm.
You could be so blinded to your pain, by your pain, that you are unaware of how this is affecting your child.
Everything else
So
is true.
let's work on that, because
Mm,
many times we are blinded by pain, and that's why we are not present for our children.
mm,
You're
mm,
so detached to experiences that your
mm,
child is going through sexual abuse and you're not aware, or you've really checked out emotionally that you can't even see what's going on with them. So for me, it is emotional abuse on the child, but let's support this parent and give them the tools they need
need, yeah.
so that the child doesn't have to be the pawn that gets
Mm.
caught up in this mess.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that is true. Ah, yeah, that is so true. I
Yeah.
usually feel so sorry for our child, and at the end of the day, they really have nothing to do. But
Mm.
unfortunately, they're the ones who are going to get the most
Yeah.
harm. It's
Yeah, yeah.
even
It's
unfair.
lasting damage, it's lasting damage, and
It is.
there has to be a better way of doing
Mm.
this.
Okay. So, out of your experience, of the parents that you see and all that, which are the common things that the parents might have experienced or is experiencing that are more likely to make them abuse their own children?
Emotionally.
Yeah, emotionally, yes.
The biggest one is their own childhood trauma. In
Mm,
fact, it's the major one. It's their
mm,
own childhood trauma. They experienced neglect.
mm,
They had to do what we call parentification. They became parents too early. They
mm,
had to take care of their younger siblings, or
mm,
they had to be the parent to them, to their own mom,
mm,
because their mom was going through this, and so they sort of took up that responsibility of being a
mm,
parent. Of course, physical abuse as well.
mm,
So all the different levels of childhood trauma, a
mm,
parent living, going through separation and divorce without support. Okay,
mm,
it's important for us to put that without support, because there
mm,
are many children who go through, families who go through
mm.
separation and divorce when there is support, and when there is roho safi, between the parents
Parents,
co-parenting. Yeah,
it's
it's
easier. Yeah.
it's still healthy. So
Mm,
all that, sexual abuse when you are young, anything happening in your childhood that
mm,
caused being shamed as well, being put embarrassed and things like
mm,
that, that caused
mm,
you to suppress your own emotions and not
mm,
to be able to allow it to fully express, then
mm,
you're very likely to do
mm.
that while unaware you're doing so. So those
Yeah.
are the third part where I said forgotten lies. Those are
Mm,
all the forgotten lies.
mm,
Okay, you will
mm,
pass them to your children, while most of the time, while unaware you're doing so.
mm.
You will justify it. You will say, even me, my mom yelled at me, even
Yeah.
me, my dad this, and see how I
Mm,
turned out. Yeah, see how you turned out. Good point there. See how you turned out.
okay.
Because I
Yeah.
don't know what we try to justify when we say I turned out okay,
Mm.
and is
I
okay
think
good enough.
it's because most success is measured by money. It's not
Exactly.
it's not anything else. Success is measured by the car you drive, where you live, how
Yeah,
much money is in your bank. That is success for most people. So
exactly.
if they have all those boxes checked, then
Yeah,
they turned out well, and yet they
yeah,
cannot please anyone.
yeah, yeah. And then they ask yourself, have you looked around? You say you turned out
Mm,
well. Have you looked around? How are the people around you relating with you? Are they afraid of you?
yeah.
Okay. Are you
Mm,
sure the relationships you have are authentic? If
mm,
people keep saying yes to you, yes, yes, then you feel I turned out okay. See, I can lead this huge team. Are you
yeah,
really okay?
yeah.
Are they authentically responding
Mm,
to you, or it's out of fear of some
mm,
repercussions?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
there's a lot that goes into that, okay, that we need to unpack.
Mm. Is it safe to say that how you treat your child is actually a reflection of who of the trauma that you are having? Is it safe to say that?
It's not only safe, it's 100%
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Children trigger in us the things we haven't dealt with.
Okay.
They actually become a mirror. And again, probably I said this last time because I
Mm,
say it a lot.
mm,
Children act as a mirror for the things we have not dealt with. Most
okay.
of the time, the things we are struggling with,
Mm,
when our children just show a sign of struggle in them, it
mm,
triggers us, and it triggers us into yelling, into fixing, into emotional abuse, into
mm,
trying to fix. And the example I like to use two examples. One is when your child is struggling in school,
Mm,
and you struggled in school or you're struggling at work.
mm,
When a report comes of them not doing well, your
mm,
reaction is way more than just I want you to work well, but I want you
mm,
to perform well. Your reaction is usually way more, and you might go into a spiral and give them all kinds of punishment, withdraw all their gadgets and tell them they're not going to go for this birthday party, then you ground them for the rest of the month, and it just goes on and on and on. So
mm,
they do that. So that's one example. Another example would be if your child is being bullied in school and
mm,
you are bullied and you never processed and resolved that space, it
yeah,
triggers so
yeah.
many things. So you become that mom who is always going to the office, who is always writing emails, who is always, like you are your child's defender all
Mm,
the time.
mm,
And
mm,
there are those who do that from a place of wholeness because they are
mm,
here. So I'm
mm,
not saying all of those who do it is coming from a place, but
mm.
all I invite you is to check yourself.
Yeah,
It's to
yeah.
check yourself. And if
Mm,
there's nothing, I approach it with curiosity. If there's nothing, if
mm,
you've resolved that place, if you've healed that place, hey,
mm,
go ahead and be your child's advocate.
mm,
Okay. But then
mm,
how also are you equipping your child to go and fight for themselves, to go and
mm,
speak up for themselves?
mm.
Sometimes we send them out of the house. We have armed them with 550 affirmations. It's from a place of, if it's from a place of anxiety, it's just overwhelming for the
Okay, okay.
child.
All right, I'll start humming them. Okay.
You'll start having them. Where has it touched you?
All right, all right.
all, all I'm saying, Doc, is
Mm,
check where it's coming from.
yes, that is so true.
The
Mm,
question I always ask parents is, in this moment, what is mine to own? What
mm,
is what is in this moment my anxiety, my
mm,
unmet needs? And what
mm,
in this moment is my child? I affirm my child in the morning when
mm,
he goes
mm.
to school. I
Yeah.
speak life, and I tell him he's a leader and all that.
Mm,
But
mm.
let it come from a healthy place. And it's a journey, it's still a journey, okay?
Yes, it
So it
is. Yeah.
comes from a place of baggage. While we continue to unpack the baggage, it gets to a place
Mm,
where you're still doing the same things to
mm,
equip this child, but from
mm.
a very clean space.
Yeah.
And that's
Mm,
when the lessons really land. Because
mm.
kids
Yeah,
pick the anxiety,
they
they
do.
pick the stress, they pick those things.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what they read more than the
yeah.
actual words you speak
Actual
into.
words. It's true. Actually, it's true. Even like I remember my kids when you tell them something and your face does not match your words, they will not even hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
will ask you about what's up with your face. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. They'll call it out.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
how many times has my son told me, Mom, why do you look angry? And I
Yeah.
tell him, I'm not angry. I'm not, like, yeah, you are. they,
Oh,
they,
right.
they pick
Exactly.
so easily. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, that's so true. Okay, so how can you tell a child is emotionally abused? Assuming now, okay, there are those who come to the clinic, then of course at least they've known this as a problem. But what of those people who you just meet along the way and maybe may pick one or two, three things to point you towards a certain direction?
Mm.
What are those things that we are to pick as far as emotional abuse is concerned?
Yeah. And I don't even think there's you can isolate it in this sense. The
Mm.
signs, it's hard for you to isolate emotional
Oh,
abuse
okay.
on
Okay,
its
so
own.
just
So
abuse.
it's really generally a child who is going through abuse or
Mm,
a traumatizing situation will, whether it's emotional or any other, will still show up
mm,
with the
the
signs.
same,
And
yeah.
it's either of two. It's either
Mm,
the aggression or
mm,
the neediness and the passiveness and the passiveness.
okay.
Okay. And so
Mm,
the aggression would be they bully, they will also yell at others, they put others down, they are
mm,
mean to others because that's all they know. They've just soaked it in. So
Mm,
there's the aggression, and it could be both physical or emotional. Okay. And that's
mm,
why I always say behavior is the tip of the iceberg.
yeah.
We always say, uh, this is what you do when your child is being bullied, but we
Mm,
never really focus on when your child is the
the,
bully.
yeah.
What do you do? It's
Mm,
still the same. Behavior is a tip of the iceberg. So there's a phrase I've come across lately that says we try to attack the shark and
mm,
believe the shark is a dolphin.
mm,
A cute
yeah.
little dolphin that just needs some love.
Mm,
So there's a lot that's going on that you need to focus on, just healing, helping that, and giving that
mm,
child the emotional support they need. Then, of course, there's the passiveness,
mm,
the whiny child, the child the one who always comes to report. The ones who always is the one who is being picked on. Of course, they will it will show up in low self-esteem. They don't want
mm,
to do anything. They don't want to attempt. They are very hesitant to do anything. They're the ones who will sit in the corner and just really
mm,
just be there to they're not really making effort to do anything or to be part of a crowd or to be part
mm,
of whatever activities there. So you look out for both. You look out for the extreme of the aggressive one and the extreme of the withdrawal, the one who is withdrawn. There's the one who is whiny, the
mm.
one who is always being picked on,
All
victim,
right.
the poor me sort of.
Mm. Is it the same for adults? Can you say the same for adults? I think
Absolutely.
so too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so too. Yeah. So whenever you pick these two extremes, then something has not been worked on.
Mm, mm. Yeah.
Mm,
So they need an environment of support
mm.
to be able
Okay.
to process.
To process that, and that's where therapy really becomes in.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
at the end of the day, I think also I'm imagining as a teenage girl or even a young adult or an adult, what usually happens is you also attract the same people. So if you're not careful, you end up into relationship with the same people.
Mm,
Then of
mm,
course have children in that relationship who will
mm,
also go
mm.
through it. Yeah. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it does. We that's familiar.
Mm,
That's what is familiar.
mm,
You grow up in a home that people would fight a lot. That's familiar for you. So your belief system is relationships are full of drama without even knowing.
mm,
So when a relationship is going well, you're like, there's something wrong. And that you're unaware of that. There's something wrong. When there's drama, you don't like it, but it connects, it clicks with
okay.
with you one way or another. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
really have a lot to unlearn because of our
Yeah, it's
childhood
true.
experiences.
It's very true. Okay. So reversal, how do we do it? How do we reverse this old? For example, now either I'm an adult, as an adult, or now for my children, and unfortunately I've abused them. How do I reverse that impact so that at the end of the day we end this cycle and create a different cycle now?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
I think a lot of these things do need support.
okay.
And nowadays, I tell people, I mean, you can choose the long route of working on it yourself. It will take long. You might get there. I don't know.
You
But there
won.
are actually professionals who have
Yeah.
been trained to walk
Mm,
this journey with you.
mm,
The same way you are investing in this business and in this skill
mm,
at work and in this, get
mm,
money aside and do this, because this is actually more important than anything else, because
mm,
you are raising a generation. So
mm,
the first thing is just get help, get
mm, mm,
professional help. I
mm,
think that's number two. Number
mm.
one, acknowledge.
Yeah, there's a
You
problem.
can't move on unless you acknowledge and say, hey, there's actually an issue. What you
Mm,
say, repeated cycles. I know
mm,
I'm ruining my children by
mm,
doing what I'm doing. So can
mm,
you acknowledge? Because acknowledgement is 50-60% of the journey, by the
mm,
way. And then the next thing is really just get help, get someone who is professional enough to walk
Mm,
you this journey. Some people, we heal in relationships. And so sometimes actually you may not even need to see a therapist if it's not serious, deep trauma, just in relationships. So connect with people who are like minded, connect
mm,
with people who are compassionate like you, or learning to be compassionate, who are understanding. We heal in relationships. When we
mm,
constantly experience something opposite of what we experienced,
mm,
constantly and consistently, it
mm.
brings healing.
Oh,
Okay. So I've seen that some people heal in actually a romantic relationship that
yeah,
is
true.
that is that is that is empathetic, that is compassionate, that this person constantly experiences unconditional acceptance, then
Mm,
it draws them out.
mm,
Okay. So that's what therapy does. It provides that environment. It provides that
mm,
environment for our relationship, for repair to be done
mm,
consistently. Okay.
no,
So that can also be done.
mm,
So we break in relationships and we heal in relationships. Acknowledge and then seek intentionally seek support. It's in a
mm.
healthy relationship, but many times we may need to go through therapy, a few sessions to just help you process and unpack that, please. And then
Oh,
learn now to pass that on to your children.
your children.
One of
Mm,
the greatest tools I give parents is what I call the emotional container. Be
mm,
an emotional container for your children's strong feelings.
mm,
Therefore, when they come home and say, this was the worst day ever, then you're
mm.
like, stop saying that. How can you say that? Do you know how lucky you are? Da, 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 da. Like, they haven't even told you what happened.
What
Or
happened?
if
Yeah.
they tell you what happened, you're like, just that. You need to toughen up. This is life. Look, you can tell them that. But how about,
Mm,
first of all, just create space for them to offload? Be that
yeah.
emotional container when they are feeling stressed, when they've
Mm,
been rejected by a friend, create
mm,
a moment for them, create a safe space for them to
mm,
do that. Okay,
mm,
then
mm,
the solutions may or may not be needed at that point. But
mm,
how can we be an emotional container if we also are so messed up?
mm. Ah,
So clean up that space and then
mm,
create space for your children to really express even the things that you may not agree with, that
mm,
may make you uncomfortable. That's the best way to begin for children. For children, if they've experienced that, the best
mm,
way to heal is to be that one stable person who is
mm,
supportive and provide the environment for them to experience the healing.
mm. Okay. All right. And that brings us to a close. Thank you so much, Dr. Carol. I've learned a lot. I've seen myself in one of those things, let's say. And yeah, as you said, it's work in progress.
It is. It is.
We just
And
try
I
to be
always like to end sessions like this with that. It's a
mm,
work in progress.
mm,
If anything we've talked about here is triggering guilt and a sense of
mm,
heaviness, it's
mm,
okay. Just take it as it is,
yeah.
acknowledge it, and
Mm,
release it and say, okay,
mm,
now I know better. And when I know better, I do better.
better, yeah.
Yeah. So let's not leave this session with guilt.
Mm.
Let's
Everyone who's been watching this, I hope you've learned something. And as Daktari has said, don't feel guilt. It's the first step, acknowledging it. Then from there, try to find the roots. And the best thing is just seek for therapy. Okay, I think it's the shortest way, and
mm, yeah.
you don't have to try 20 hits before you actually get something. Okay, and Dr. Caro is one of the best therapists for parenting. As I told you, she said she wants to have that one wholesome parent to take care of the children around them. Okay, we'll put up her contacts on our comment sections, and you can always reach her, and I'm sure you'll come here with testimonies. Thank you so much, everybody, and have yourselves a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you.